Hello, and we're live. I think we are. I think I am. I had some mic problems. Sorry for the delay. Let's see. Is anyone here? Can anyone give me a shout just to test my mic, just to see if it's working? So sorry for the delay. Let me open up my topics list. Yes, all good. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Thank you, ASR and Crossmind Studio. Awesome. So the mic's all working. All good. Well, maybe this font is too large. Let's 18. Oh, that's good. So, all working. Awesome. Thanks. Let's turn this up a bit. Okay. Today's live stream, I was planning to talk about some procedural modeling techniques that I use all the time, and I find really useful. So I've been really obsessed with procedural modeling as of late, creating all these HDAs and generators and all that sort. And I've actually racked up on a few generators that I haven't released yet. This new one, this construction platform, which is, I'm just gonna give you a quick show. This guy, I started making a few, I think, 3-4 days ago. I don't know. The original plan was to make this platform and then have two groups of people play tug of war and use ragdolls, some of the Houdini 19 new features in ragdolls, and have them like tug on each other. Very inspired by that Squid Game. One of the episodes in Squid Game. I wanted to do that, but I ended up spending a lot of time procedural modeling a lot of other things instead. Just once you start modeling stuff, you just can't stop. For some reason, I was just really into it this week. So that didn't leave me with much time left for the ragdolls, or to create any mocap for tugging on the rope. Because Houdini 19 ragdolls only add secondary motion to existing mocaps. So you actually have to have a decent mocap motion to begin with, an animation to begin with, and you add secondary motion to it. That's mainly the updates, Houdini 19 updates that they've made. So that will probably be for a next project. Today we're gonna go into some techniques that I've used for modeling this construction platform and spiderweb. Where to go? Here it is. I don't know if you can see that. Dark. Okay, the spiderweb. The spiderweb is this is very Vex related. There's a lot of Vex going into this. So this I may not go into too much detail about. Well, today I'm going to go over some of the techniques that I usually use. And I'm going to show you examples in these particular HDAs that I've used them in. This spiderweb one is a little more advanced because it has so much Vex going on. The spiral stairs. So this is the order of what we're going into. The spiral stairs may be a bit better. Spiral stairs and the construction panel. So the spiral stairs, I use a lot of copies to points, to position stuff. So this is a perfect example of that technique that I use for procedural modeling. Squid Game. It's a Korean TV show that was released on Netflix a few months ago, I think. And it's been I think the first month that it was aired on Netflix, 100 million people viewed it in the first month. So it's like some crazy trend that's going on. That was one of the one of the ideas that sparked in my head after watching one of the episodes in that TV series to have tug of war on each part of the construction plane platform and have them tug. But in that one, it was like a game of death. This is like, I don't know. That was an idea. It will come soon, hopefully. Jojo knows what we're talking about. And one of the other new features that they introduced, sidefx introduced in Houdini 19 is the curve node. A lot of new updates to that. If only this guy would load. It's taking a long time. So I have been trying to find use cases for the new updates for the curve node. Like I tried using it to model hard surface modeling. I thought it would be excellent for hard surface modeling, just because let me show you some of the curve node first, some of the updates that they've done, so you, in case that you haven't seen it. So this is the curve node. Come over here to the viewport, press enter, and you get this nice small hints, topics, tooltip hints. Click, drag, or just one click and you get like a sharp anchor. So this feels very Illustrator, like the pen tool in Illustrator. If you've ever used the Adobe Illustrator application, this feels awesome. Now, if you connect this, close it out, it'll create a plane, which is perfect. So at the beginning, I thought we could use this for hard surface modeling. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to actually create anything awesome using this. I tried many ways, but it's not as intuitive. Maybe I'm not I haven't figured out a workflow to figure out how to use the curve node for making mechs, robots, or hard surface mechanical components or anything like that. So that needs to be worked on. But that's the curve node. However, after much experimentation, I found that the curve node is excellent for making ornaments. Oriental ornaments. Oh, it's gonna load all over again. Stuff like this. Now, the one on the... Okay. Maybe I'll get rid of the grid line. So the one on the right is the curve node, and I've just broken that out so you can see a comparison side by side. So that's just this over here. So the final product is this guy over here. So this was driven by the curve node. You can do fancy ornamental designs. I mean, this would look a lot better if I had more squiggly lines going out, like more curves to drive this. So this is not anything, like at the beginning when I started this, it was just an experiment to see what I could create. So there's nothing really I was aiming for or any goal in mind. So I started off with one piece, and then in order to get these sharp corners, maybe if I turn on flat wire shaded, so you can see the lines, or maybe not. There we go. So it's sharp here. So I use the poly wire to get these, if you use a low enough division of the poly wire, you get these sharp lines. So you won't get something as smooth. And then in order to taper it, you can always adjust the width. So there is an attribute here that I've added to each point. Now, if only I can show you the curve. So curve points. So there are like a width attribute added to it, and that defines the thickness of the poly wire, and thus creating this tapering effect on both ends. And this is a NURBS curve or different. This is, let me see, it's a Bezier curve. You could use a NURBS curve. They do have that. I think it defaults to Bezier curve because I wasn't very mindful of the primitive type. Let me see. You started off, Yeah, it defaults to Bezier curve. I think having a nerves curve doesn't make much difference. Let's try it actually. Oh, so it's a little sharper on the corners. The Bezier curves gives you a more smoother flow. Yep. So this is the so far this is the only use case I could successfully make out of the curved node that looks pleasant, visually pleasant. Just give it 1 second so it can load. Other than that, I haven't found any, like, it's really hard. I feel like the curve node has so much updates to it. It has so much power, but I just don't know what to use it for, which makes me sad. I will keep searching. Maybe one day it'll just click in my head. I'm trying to find a workflow of the curve node to make more use of it, because I feel like it has so much power. Okay. So that's one of the procedural modeling techniques that we will be discussing. First of all, I really wanted to go over the construction platform. Sagil. I hope I pronounced that right. I have seen some nice tutorials from you. Thank you. One thought through you do know that the new curve node does not work in UE when creating HDA. Oh, I actually never tried. I wasn't planning to, but you can always convert it into a geometry, like Olympic file, an FBX. Like, you'll have to convert the curve node to if it doesn't work porting over the native curve to UE, you can always convert it into a geometry, like convert it into a polygon geometry using various ways. Here, let's see. Where did I convert it? I convert it into... Did I ever convert it to? I believe so, but it is... I use the poly wire, so it's already... the curve node starts here, and then you add the poly wire. That converts it into a polygon geometry already. So, my usual workflow is to create something in Houdini, model in Houdini, and then bring it over into Blender. Just because I really love the Blender's rendering engine. It's fast. It's really nice. So that's usually my workflow. So I know this can be ported over to Blender. To UE, I haven't tried. It's not something that I was planning to do with the curve node. But I know that there are HDAs that you can use live in UE. So if you create an HDA in Houdini using the curve node, perhaps you're trying to make a road path for a city generator, but you want it inside UE. So you want it to be able to edit the road in UE. So you could edit the native curve in UE using the HDA that you create in Houdini. Now, I've seen that before, and that was pre Houdini 19. That was before Houdini 19. That always existed. If this new curve node doesn't work, the Houdini 19 curve node doesn't work in UE, that's something new. I haven't tried it. I ran into this problem and had sent an email to sidefx. Pronounces it Sagi. Oh, Sagi. It's not working in UE4. Yes, but as editable node in UE. When you create HDA, there's an option to have node and modifiable. Yes. Yes, the new curve node does not work in UE. Official thing. I am going to make a video about it and post it. Awesome. Saji, are you a huge UE fan? I've been trying to learn more UE just because it's like Epic Games and sidefx have become huge friends now, since they have an investment in sidefx now. There is a way to have the old curve node in UE. Oh, I wonder if they got rid of it. I remember back in the day in Houdini, when you put, like, there used to be a point node, and when they upgraded the point node, they always kept the old point node inside Houdini. So it's like hidden inside. If you have, so here's something to try out. If you have a curve node in an old HIP file that was pre-Houdini 19 that uses the old curve node, try opening that file, copy that node, just like Control C, copy it, and open a new Houdini 19 HIP file and paste it in. Sometimes that works. It's hidden inside. I mean, the old curve node, and yes, you can see the old point node. Yeah. So there was like these old, they always keep it in there. Here's a simpler way. Okay. I'm all ears. So while you type that in, I'm just gonna go on with this. So what I really wanted to show today is how to use the B box. This Houdini expression comes in so handy when you're doing procedural modeling, especially if you're building something like this, like a platform like this. You can see that I have things aligned on top. So I just want to show you, this is a HDA I created. If I wanted to make this more procedural and I want to make blocks so it goes up. So this platform up here follows the height of this beam, the height of the beams. As the beam grows, as the more it grows higher, the platform is always on top. So that's something you would use B-box for. That's what I would use B-box for. And that would always find the dimensions, the bounding box dimensions of an existing geometry. This makes it perfect to procedurally align objects on top of each other or beside each other or underneath or who knows. Let's see what Saji has. Windows Asset Manager configuration set show as always. There's one. Oh, the way sorry to crash your stream. I'm a fan of that. No, just you're not crashing. Don't worry. It's very casual. My live streams are super casual. I'm fairly new to Houdini. You are doing very well. Windows Asset Manager configuration tab asset definition toolbar set to always show. Let's actually try that. Windows Asset. I've actually never done this. Asset Manager configuration tab. The asset definition toolbar. Asset definition. Oh, here it is. Always show. Set. Show always. Let's give it a try. Curve. Node. Sorry, point, not point. Do I have to restart Houdini? Is that what? Rather than restarting, I'll just load another one. I'm sorry. If you see the curved node, you'll see a drop. A drop down on top for the old curved node. Now I'm just opening another instance of Houdini. Let's see if that works. I know sidefx loves to hide things from us. I don't know why though. So this is another instance of Houdini. I just want to see if it comes up. Points. Okay, curve. I'm not sure. It's not working for me. Am I supposed to do this? Oh, curve. Oh, there's a drop down. I see. Cool. Oh, that's much cleaner. Let me see the point node. Because I miss my edge force. The old point node had an edge force one. Oh, they got rid of that. And the old point node is really old. Alright. That's cool. So, if all of you that misses the older nodes, every single time Houdini updates the nodes, they sometimes take out some of the features. So if you miss it, here is what Saji has taught us. If you come to Asset Manager, flip this to Show Always, and then it'll appear as a drop-down box when you add the node, the parameters panel on the drop that there will be an extra drop down box here where you can choose the older node 2.1, 2.0 and curve 1.0. That's cool. I'm going to take this out though. Just in case it confuses people while on the stream. But thank you, Saji. That's helpful to know. Current session will show. It's to Jenny from sidefx. I emailed them. Oh, thank you, Saji, and thank you, Jenny. All right. So that can come in handy in case like you're not ready to use the latest and greatest thing in the world. Sometimes you have like old scene files that you've grown so used to one of the nodes, just can't let go yet. So that'll come in handy. So back to the B box, aligning things, different elements to other elements. This function will be your best friend in procedural modeling, at least for me. So let me show you some of the things I've done for this. Take a look at my notes. Okay. Just need a bit more real estate. Now, one of the things, I've also created this new application. I hope this will come in handy. Let me do this. I'm just gonna give me 1 second and restart my application. Now, I have been known to, for my highlights on some of my older tutorials, my pre-recorded tutorials from back in the day at the beginning, before I started doing live streams and all. Like I was known for these. Let me see if these arrows. Oh, it's not updating. Oh, I have to turn it on. It is on. Okay, these arrows. So I wrote a small program, a Python program to draw them in during the stream. Hopefully this will improve the quality of the streams and make it easier for me to explain things. P.S. This video will be live later on. It'll be available for replay later on. Shift S. What's that? For smooth curves. For smooth curves? Oh, you mean the lines? These node lines? Okay, I'm not sure. But anyways, so hopefully this is my first time going to be using this program, and I hope it will turn out nicely. Right now I only have arrows, so arrows like this and rectangles that I can do. If this works out, if this does help during the live streams and improve the quality of the streams, I will keep improving, like, because this is a program that I wrote, so I'll keep improving it, writing more and more to improve it. But let's see how it turns out. This is my first time using it, so yeah. I was just mentioning some of the arrows. It will aid me in explaining things visually. Okay, so let's test this out. So this is the HDA to create this construction platform. Now, this whole platform begins. Okay, this is a perfect time to use that arrow. Begins up here. And everything starts over here. Oh, actually, this might be quite distractive, actually. Everything begins up here. And everything like the large pillars. I call this large pillars. I should call this large beam. This large beam, the elevator, the platform. Actually, not that one. this large platform, sorry, this platform, all of these are based on, okay, so I'm going a little too much. Okay, they're all of these guys are based on the first one based on this. So everything's based off of that first template shape that I created up here. Now, let's take a look at what the template shape looks like. This basic template shape. I'm going to put the grid back in. So this basic shape defines 1 unit size for the construction plane. So this is the minimum height that the construction plane will be able to have. It can't go lower than this. Well, it can go like, I think 0. Let me see. Let's see what happens when we put 0. Yeah, that's the lowest. So this is the minimum size. That's that one size. So we'll call it the 1 unit size that the construction platform can be of. And that's something that I created. That's something I defined. Now let's turn this back to 2. And that starts off here. That's what this is defining. Everything that is built is based off of that template right there. This template rack here. Now let's take a look at the pillars. Or the large beams. I should call this large beams. Now first let me show you what the large beams are first. So it's probably better that way. So these are the large beams that hold it up. I'm just going to template the whole thing. There. Oh, there is something wrong with my scroll wheel, so it's not scrolling very smoothly. So anyways, so this is the large beams. These orange large beams holding the structure up. Now they're going to be based off of units. So I've made it 2 blocks. This is 1 block down right here. So this is 1 block right here. This is 1 unit block, and that's the template size. And if we look over here, up, to the very beginning when we start the large beams, this is a box. So it starts off with the box. Let me get rid of the template. Just a regular box, nothing special. I have aligned it to the ground, so I moved it up by half a Houdini unit, so it's perfectly on the ground. Then I start to match the size of that template. So I use bbox. This is where bbox comes in handy. So I find the distance between. So what this transform node is doing is trying to align the height of this box, so it is the same height as this template. So I'm going to try and have them both on the same screen. So the box is the same height as that template shape that I have. And this starts me off with creating the beams because I want them. This is a procedural asset that I'm going to create. So if this template size, if the whole construction platform grows twice as much, I want the beams to grow twice as much in the same unit. So I'm going to call this platform unit size. One unit of one platform unit. So I want this box to be 1 platform unit. So let's take a look at this Houdini expression. This right here is taking the template. So I'm taking the template and I'm grabbing the maximum Y size. So that's this rack here. That's this rack. And I'm grabbing the maximum size there. Let me see if I can put an arrow there. That maximum size here. So I'm grabbing that height of this rack. That's what this is saying. And I'm subtracting the box of the maximum Y size of the box. So before this is, now this is, it's already grown, but let's look at the original box. This is what it's using. This is the original box size. And I'm grabbing, let me change the color of this. Let's do red. Now the box size is over here. So the maximum box height is here. So this is the maximum box height. So you can see that the rack is a lot taller than the box. So that's what this is trying to find out. I'm trying to find out the offset position because I need to know how much to grow it to, how much to move it up. That's why you have to use the maximum height of the rack, the tallest point in the rack, minus the tallest point in your box. You find that offset. You know how much to move it up. You know how much it's off by. So here, this is what we're trying to find right here. This offset position. How much to move this box up. That's why we have to subtract the highest point of the rack minus the highest point of the box. So another thing, I just remembered I forgot to go over the parameters of the B-box. So let's go over that. So how would you use the B-box? So B-box, this is a function. Well, it has two parameters. One is the node path. Oh, too many ellipses. You put in the node path that you're grabbing the dimensions of. So in this case, right here of this part, we're grabbing the node path of the template because we're always referring to the template, this rack, the template. That's, so I have the node path plugged in there and it's a string. It doesn't always have to be a string, as we'll see in the next parameter over here. But let's just go with strings right now. So strings, you would have the node path. How would you find this node path? Well, it's just like your file system. You have dot dot. So dot dot usually means one step, a node that is not this one, an outer node. So you're going one step up. If you want to refer to some of the parameters, if you want to grab some of the parameters within this within the same node, then you don't need this dot dot. The dot dot only means one step up. One step up means another node, an exterior node. And one step up, you're still stuck. So you can see this breadcrumb up here. This breadcrumb up here. This helps you find the node path that you're in. So we're in here, the object level here, and then the construction platform, which is the geometry context, and then the construction platform 1, which is the HDA name. Sorry. Okay. That's what this does over here. That's what the node path does. Now you want the dimension. So you see that we have D, Y max. So there's a couple choices. This is predefined. You can't really choose which one to type in. You have to choose one of the ones that they predefine for you. So you can choose D. It always begins with D underscore. That's what it is. And you have Y max, which is the maximum Y value. The maximum value in the Y axis, which is up and down for us in Houdini. There is also dy min. You can always have that. Dy size. Now, dy min is like the minimum value in the y-axis. So we have the highest point and we have the lowest point. That's helpful. But what is y size? And that's actually the physical size of the geometry spanning across the y-axis. So if you have like a cube, let's take a simple example. A default cube. Take out the rack, take out all that. Let me put this back into like, now this cube is spanning, is one Houdini unit on all sides, up, down, left, right, width, height, and length. It's all 1, 1, 1. If I go like B box, here, let me type it up. If I go B box Y max on this cube, if I use a Y max on this default cube size, what would the value be? So that's the highest point up here. Now that's the Y max. That's the highest point up there. What would the value be? What would this grab? Okay, so this, now remember, it's one unit size up, down, left, right. The highest point, and when you put a default cube right smack into the viewport, it's going to land right in the middle of the entire scene, which is at the origin point. So half of the cube is underneath the ground plane, and half of the cube is on top of the ground plane. Just keep that in mind. So the Y max would actually give you 0.5. What would the Y min give you? So the Y min would actually be the lowest point, which is this, down here. Now remember, the ground plane is like in the middle over here. In the middle over here. Like this is the ground plane. The arrow's down here. That's the Y min that we're trying to find. And that would actually give you negative 0.5, just because this is a default cube and it's spanning 1, 1, 1 on all directions. But what would the Y size give you? And so this is the actual height of the cube. Now I already said that this is a default cube and it spans 1, 1, 1 on all directions. So the size of this would just be 1. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how to use this. Like this is just the y-axis. You can always change this to the x-axis. And the parameter is the same. Like it's just identical. It's changing that one character. And we also x, y, z. And we also have the z-axis. Okay, so that's how to use the basic parameters of the B box. Now let's go back to this, which is the large beams. So I started off with a box. Let me template that beam again. Sorry, there's something wrong with my mouse. The scrolling is not very smooth. I keep clicking the wrong thing. Okay, the rack's on the back. Now we can't see it. Okay. Dark. Let me remove the grid again. I think that's better. Okay. So that's how I figured out how to make this box align to the same size as my template shape, which I call the platform unit, 1 unit platform. So by using this, by using a bunch of B boxes. Now you can ignore this part over here. I'm trying to offset for the polywire radius, just because once you convert this rack into a polywire, it adds a little bit of width, so this grows just a little bit more, and I wanted this box to be exactly the same height as the rack after the polywire was applied, so that this is just adding a bit more. So if we look at this, the box is just a teeny bit higher over here. I don't know if just a teeny bit higher right there than the rack, and that's just the offset position of the polywire. So you can ignore that. You can ignore this part right now. This will work just as fine. This, without that offset, you'll see that the box and the rack is the exact same size, just because I took the offset position between the original box, and I found how far to make the box grow up. So how far to make this side. And that's another thing. I only took one side. If you look at this over here, I'm only using the second primitive of the box. Let's take a look at the box and come over here, press this button, and it'll show you the primitive numbers of each face, or each primitive. So this is 2. So I just want to move 2 and just pull it up so it's just at that height is what I'm trying to do. And this is what it ends up with. So we're taking that 2, and I'm just pulling this side up. Whoops, wrong way. Yeah, pulling this side all the way up. Now, the one bad thing about this program that I've just noticed is that I can't adjust the arrow sizes. So that's something I'll note down for the next live stream. Maybe I'll adjust the arrow sizes. Let's see. Let me add that offset back in though. So that's one example of using the B box, is to align things accordingly. So after you have that alignment, and okay, I'm going to say this box is exactly the same size as that template rack that I had. Now I can start creating my beams. And that's just a matter of pushing, pulling, adding more different shapes to it. Because if you notice, the beam has 3 shapes. There's just 3 boxes. This is all 3 beams. Let me look at just one beam. Oh, my scroll wheel. Okay. Turn off this. Okay. So this beam, let's look at one beam. 1 unit length of a beam is just this. Is 1, 2, 3 boxes smashed together to create a large beam. Oh, and there's another box over here in the middle to give it some sort of detailing. But that's not necessary. Okay. The alignment here, and you see here, I'm trying to align this. I need the grid. So I want you to see, let me get rid of the template. This is where the position of the pillar, I call it a pillar, it should be large beam. This is smack right on the middle, the origin. Now I want to align it so it's in one of the quadrants of the grid. It's either like in this corner or that corner. Smack in the middle is really hard to align stuff. So I want it in one quadrant. And in order to get it in one quadrant, I would just take Now, this is the original position. In order to get in that exact corner of the quadrant of the grid, here we go. You want to move it. We start off here. And I have to find out this offset position. This offset position. And after you find out that offset position over there, you can move the entire beam. Oops. After you find out this offset position, you can move the entire beam over here. Over to the left. And after you do that, you get this. So it becomes right here. So it aligns perfectly just because we find the offset position in here and move it. Oh, sorry. I got it the wrong way. We find the offset position of this side. And we move it over there. That results in this pillar, or this large beam being exactly right at all the way in the negative side, all the way this corner to be exactly on the origin. And that makes it a lot easier to align stuff later on. So this is just prepping, getting it in the right position. Magnetic. Hello, how are you? Fine, thanks. If you are on Twitter, Discord, I can message you links. Okay, I gotta go 143 here. No problem, just watch the replay. I am on Twitter. Twitter account is it's actually just bubblepins. It's the same account. This. Let's see. Balaji. Thank you for your tutorials. Oh, thank you for watching. Okay, let's see. Just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna grab a drink. Okay. Now, I think you've gotten enough of the B box. Let's see. What else did... Copy and transform to here. And this just makes it, grows it up. And again, I use the B box again. Just so, because if I use a copy and transform, I'm going to get rid of this template and grow it up. Nothing's happening. I mean, I can grow it. Okay, let's just make one. And then make two. Growing it. I don't know how far, what value to grow it. Because if I just eyeball it like this, like, okay, just eyeball it just right there. That looks good. But then when you come over up here, and I increase the number of blocks, go back in. Oh, I guess that will still look good. Let me see if I expose the length. I guess I don't expose the length. But if I go back to the template up here, oops. Over here, and I change this curve. Now, I don't really want to do that right now, so I will make another curve. And I'll change it. Let me template that as well, so you can see both in action. The large beam. If I change this, Now let me take this, and I'll move it up. Okay. Let's go back to that transform. Oh, my scroll wheel. Sorry. Okay, so this is what we got here. Now it's actually overlapping. Some of the points are overlapping. But if you look over here, this is perfectly on there. All you have to do is look at these points. Let me make them a little larger. Guide 6. Okay, so this one, hopefully you can see that they're overlapping. Like this is over here. It should look like this. It should very clean. It's 1 unit length here, 1 unit length there. This one, let me move it to the left just a bit so you can see that it's overlapping. So you can see it's overlapping a bit here. So you can't really eyeball it. This node over here, or this node over here, oops. This node over here is using the B box, as opposed to the node over here. This one is not using B box. This is just eyeballing it. So you can see the difference between this one and this one. Because this one is eyeballing, you're not going to get the exact position. You're going to get some overlap over here. And even worse, sometimes you might get space. So that's the power of using B-Box. Let me get rid of that and go back to the curve node. Let's connect the old one. Get rid of this. Okay. Template the end. There. Now, that's using B-Box. I also use copy to points. And I use this one a lot for positioning things. So that's sort of like cheating. Usually, the best place to example is the position of the large, the position of the the handrails over here. Let's go over there. Platform. First platform, second platform. Just looking for the handrails. Handrails. Points. Okay, so these are the handrail points. Handrails here. So the handrails over here. Let me get rid of the grid because that's getting in the way now. First, I take this platform. So I need the size. As you can see, the handrails are spread very evenly distributed across the platform. Very nicely. Where is the platform? So this is the platform. Split. I need one platform. So this is the one platform that I'm trying to put the handrails on. So let's ignore everything else. So I want handrails on this side and this side. Okay, this is just lowering it down. Just moving the platform a little higher. You can ignore that just for now. That was just to move it so it has an offset position between this. Because I was going to make this platform movable. It's going to like track inwards and outwards. So that's why this transforms here. But we can ignore that for now. My point was to show you how to use copy to points node to position the handrails. Now, I only want to position the handrails on the top of this platform. This platform is a box that has 6 sides. But I only want the top. That's all I'm concerned about. So let's just blast everything else. and find the top face using groups, group by normals. Like top face is always facing up, so you can always direction 1 and then spread angle 0, so you'll get exactly the top face. And blast that open. So now I only have a plane. Now I only want the points as well. I don't really care about anything else. I don't need the plane itself. I don't need this face in the middle at all. So I blast that. The add node has delete geometry but keep the points. This is exactly what I need. Now I want the numbers of the points as well. Now what is unique about Houdini is that Houdini always labels the point numbers in the same way. So let's take a look over at this platform. The original platform has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plaques. Let's make a for loop and just look at this platform and the point numbers, because I want to show you what they look like, what the point numbers look like on the top surface. They're always the same. Okay, let's grab this. We can reuse this. Just give me 1 second. So all I'm doing, this for loop, so this is only for visual purposes. We're not gonna, this is not part of the thing. Just want to show you what the point numbers look like and what this for loop is doing. So let's ignore this for a second. Let's go through single pass. We're just going through each plaque. So there's 5 plaques. So we're just going through each one. That's what the for loop is doing, iterating through each plaque. And every single time we have a plaque, I'm going to remove the top face. And that's what these 2 nodes were doing, blasting the top face out. So now, if you look at it, we have 0. I don't know if you can see that. It's really tiny. Let me zoom in a bit. So this zooming doesn't help, I guess. The font is still small. This is 0, 1, 2, 3. So the point numbers are there. Now let's look at the next plaque. Oh. 0, 1, 2, 3. And let's look at the next one. 0, 1, 2, 3. So the point numbers are always in the same order. And this is awesome of Houdini to do this, because we can always, in order to find out this side and this side, which is the 2 sides that we're going to put the handrails on, we know which points to use. Okay, I'm just going to delete this. And I'm going to go back here. Okay, so we have that point. Let me template that so you can see, have a better view of it. One of the plaques. Side polygons. So, okay. This is where we left off. That one plaque with 0, 1, 2, 3. And we're only concerned about the side 3 to 0 and 2 to 1, because that's where the handrails will be. So let's remove the primitive, remove the face, because we don't care about that. And let's actually add lines back in. But this time we only want to add 2 lines, which is the area where the handrails will be. And as I said before, that's 0 to 3 and 2 to 1. So we have 2 lines right here. Okay, so now we have the positions of the handrails. Now what I'm going to do is resample this to get more points in between. So right now we only have 1, 2. For each side we only have 2 points because we only have a line. But I want I want a lot of handrails in there. So that's where I use the resample to help me get divisions. Next, I use polycut because even if you resample this, if I take the cursor, come over here, select one of these, try to move this, it's actually attached. So if I move one piece, one edge over here, everything moves as well. And that's not going to be great for me, for what I'm trying to do. Let me show you. Each segment here will be a hand rack or handrail. So let me show you the handrails first. I think that will give you a better idea. For here. So this is the end product that's being templated. This is the resampled divisions. I hope you can start to see what I'm trying to do. Every resampled division of that polyline will become one handrail. Like that. However, in order to, if you look carefully, in between each handrail, there is a bit, there's a small offset position over here. There's a bit of space. Otherwise, the handrails would be stuck together. They'll be glued together. And we don't want that. We want a bit of space here. And then there's a small trick to do this. Is that I take these, and as I mentioned before, I can't really do my trick unless I cut this wire. So I want these wires to actually shrink, to be individual edges and to shrink. So instead of 2 polylines, I want like 10 of them. That's what this poly cut will do. And let me just cut it and I'll show you what I mean. So now that I hope you can see, after the for loop, what the for loop does is shrinks each individual line. And since we have the poly cut over here, it actually cuts the line into multiple segments, individual lines. So now we got 10 lines instead of 2. That's what the poly cut does. And then we can feed that poly cut line, that 10 segment line, into a for loop and shrink each line. Then we get this rack, we get this offset position in between each rack. Shrinking is super easy. It's just a transform. This is where the magic happens with the shrinking. So here's one line, one iteration in the for loop. We're taking a deep dive into the for loop, and let's see how I shrink it. Well, literally I just add the pivot position is the center. So I want the center of this segment of the line, which is this little dot here. You might not be able to see it, but there's a small dot right there. There's a small dot right there, and that's the center point of it. And that's what we use for the pivot. And that's where we define the pivot. This uniform scale shrinks it towards this pivot position. So it shrinks it inwards, resulting in a very evenly distributed racks, evenly distributed across the platform. So we end up being 10 segments. Now, what happens if I didn't use the poly cut? Well, that just like, it doesn't end up well, does it? The whole thing, we have 10, here we have 10 line segments. Here we only have 2. And it's doing something weird because it's shrinking the whole thing inwards 10 times. Or not 10 times, 14 times. It's doing something weird. So you do have to poly cut it. So this is a neat trick that I use to distribute geometry evenly across another geometry. So after you have these lines, we can always create this after we have these positions. So each position, each polyline here defines where the rack is. So all we have to do is just make another copy of this. So let's come over here. That comes the next for loop. Let me get rid of, there we go. Let me get rid of the point numbers. So we have a point here. And all I did in this for loop over here, all I'm doing is I moved the original point that was down here, sorry. So the original point's down there, and I moved it up. Let me get rid of the template because it's getting in the way now. So this is the original points, which defines the position of the handrails. I'm moving it up. Up it goes. Merge it back. So we have the bottom base of the handrail and the top. Bottom and top. Next, I feed it into another for loop, and all it does is connect. I don't need these lines anymore because that's not going to help me. This bottom one is not necessary. The handrail doesn't have anything on the bottom. It goes up, goes across, goes down. So I need to rebuild these lines. I need a line here. I need a line going here. Oops. I need the arrow. I need a line going here, and I need a line going here. So I need 2 lines going up, and that will create the handrails over here. So I no longer need the line on the bottom. So that's what this for loop does, is rebuild that. But the rebuilding it is quite easy just because we can use the same trick as we did with the point numbers. Now let me see if I have this add. Guides 6. I want to. So add is here. So let's take a small dive into this for loop. I think it'll be worth it. So before we enter the second for loop, the first for loop moves everything up. So we have all the points that we need. Now we can go the second for loop down here. We'll go over each quad groups of points, 2 lines, there's 2 pair of lines, each one at a time, and reconnect and rebuild that connection. So here, I'm just rebuilding 3 and 2. 3 and 2, well, we all know 3 and 2, like, it goes across, because we know we need that. And then we have another one across, is 3 and 1, and 2 and 0. Then we merge it together. And this is the important part. And it's always the same thing, as we know that Houdini numbers the points in the same order every single time. So this is super handy, and we can always use this. So this makes it easy. Just do it once inside the for loop, and it'll iterate every single time over and over and over, and you end up with this. And after you have this, well, you can just convert it into a polywire. That's what you get here. Get rid of these. And the middle one is just for fancy detailing. So the hardest part, in my opinion, is just to the points in the first place on the platform. So we began with one platform. Here is distributing, defining the positions of this in order to get the handrails. After you define that, I mean, then everything else is a lot easier. Given then the fact that you know that Houdini numbers the points in the same way every single time, that makes it a lot easier. And also, you can make this procedural now, just because these points, the handrails, the whole handrail is driven by the resample node. So let's go that. Let me template the handrails. Let's go back. Let's go to the platform. Let me template that. And let me show you the resample. Where are you? Resample. I know it's in my face. I just can't see it right now. I don't know why. Or was it resample? Resample. Over here. Okay. Resample. I did a little bit funny. Now I'm using B-Box again, because I need the size, the width of the platform, how far it is across, take that and I divide it by the number of handrails I want, and I know I get the length that I need to resample it of. Now the number of handrails is the parameter that I created up here. So this is just something that I'm inputting in by hand. So if I want 7 handrails, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I say 10 before? I'm so sorry. I didn't notice that there were 7 of them. So there's actually 14. If this was 5, then it would have been 10. But anyways, 7 here across. It will take the entire size of the platform, which is this, takes this length, and I divide it by this number. And that's what this equation is doing, or this expression, this Houdini expression is trying to figure out. I need to know the length of one handrail, and that's what goes into this length. And that defines one handrail length. If I take this whole thing, divide it by 7, well, you're going to get 7 equal lengths of handrail lengths. In my opinion, that's the hardest part, because now that we have this, let me show you. Put this. Now I just want to show you what happens if I take this handrail and I turn it up. They're going to get more handrails. And let's change it to 5 less. So this is very dynamic. This is very procedural. The whole thing is based on this one number, which is awesome. And that's the power of Bbox, because it can dynamically determine the size of another element on the fly, on the spot. Even if you change it, it'll update itself very fast. Okay. Oh, the curve node. Now the curve node is not much. When I started doing this, I should read the comments. I forgot about that. Let's see. Thank you for doing magnetic animalism. I've been looking forward to your procedural tutorials. Is this for a launch pad of a rocket ship? I was planning, the original plan for this was a tug of war with the ragdolls. That was the original plan, but it ran out of time to do that. Inspired by one of the episodes in Squid Game. They had like 2 teams over here and playing tug of war. So obviously who wins, who loses will suck because they fall in the middle. So that was what I was trying to do, but I ran out of time. I spent too much time on this. Now it ends up being, I guess it does look like a rocket ship thing, tower. I was planning to put a mech in it or something in the middle, but I don't have a cool looking mech. I think I ended up putting the rubber toy here. I ended up putting the rubber toy in the middle. I should have put some gribble on him. Gribble noise. That would have made him more hard surface like. I think Jojo suggested that I put Rob in the middle, just because I use Rob so much in all my ragdoll tutorials. So that might be coming up next. A rocket ship. Actually, I might have a rocket ship in handy. A goofy looking one though, from one of my Thingiverse page, a long time ago, when I was obsessed with 3D printing. I also animated this and created this. Yeah. Anyways. So the rocket ship could be the next thing. Maybe I can do a rocket ship generator, just because I'm so obsessed with procedural modeling these days. Oh, the curve node. Now, again, this goes back to the beginning. Well, this is the only place I ever used the curve node in this entire thing. Is only the curve node is only used up like, oops. The curve node is only oh my god. I have to update this. It's only used up there. That's the only part where the curve node is used. Nowhere else is the curve node used. And that goes back to what I was trying to do at the beginning. What I was trying to do at the beginning was come up with new ways to use the curve node, either for procedural modeling or hard surface modeling, and that's where I came up with the ornamental design. And I was actually trying to create this platform using the curve node, solely based on the curve node, but it was really hard. And I ended up drafting this rack. And that's all I got. That's as far as I got. And I do find that the curve node, just because of its simplicity and its very unique, it's very user-friendly friendliness now, that ever since the Houdini 19 had upgraded its its UI for the curve node, is that it's really good for concepting. And right at the beginning, when you have an idea but you don't really have it solid on paper, so you don't have the full idea yet, but you have like a rough idea, the curve node is excellent for drafting it out and just sort of getting the shape in, a rough shape in, and it's perfect for that. So that is what I find that the curve node is best for when you have a blank sheet and you're just trying to get your idea on paper. That and ornamental designs. So far, that's the only two cases of the use cases that I can think of using the curve node in my workflow. Now, I'm going to go over the spiral stairs, but I'm not going to go over the entire thing again. I'm only wanting to go over the copy to points and illustrate to you how I use the copy to points in procedural modeling. So let's go all the way here. Take this out. The spiral stairs. Now, the spiral stairs looks like this. This is another HDA. I just cut it in half in the middle, clipped it out so you can see what's going on inside. Let's take a peek inside here though. So I start off with building the stairs. The spiral stairs part, just the stairs, is actually super easy. You start off with a box. Again, with the box. Get rid of the template. And then flatten it out. So I'm just flattening this. And I want to just mention the importance of keeping this box on the ground. It's exactly on the ground. So this is something I do in almost every single time I start a project, is I try to keep the cube, because the default cube is placed right in the middle of the origin. That means half of the cube is under the ground and half the cube is above the ground plane. This makes it really hard to position stuff, to move this cube around, to copy it over, just because it's half in and half out, half up and half down. So I like to place it right on the plane, and it's easiest to place it right on the ground plane at the beginning, because the cube is 1 by 1 by 1. So you know exactly how much to move it up. Just move it half a Houdini unit, like 0.5 in the Y direction up. That will place it exactly on the ground. And then you can reshape it after that. This here just squishes it down. So you have one stair step. So now I'm just moving it over, just because now the origin is right there. So this moving it over is very strategic, because this will be the radius. Now the origin is over here. And moving the box over here, whoops. Moving the box over there is actually, this offset position is the radius of the spiral stairs. So the spiral stairs is a circle. In a circle, we have a radius. This offset position is the radius of the circle that we're going to spiral around. So this is strategically positioned. Next, we come over here and to the copy node, a copy and transform node, and this is where we start seeing the spiral stairs. And this is super simple. Let's come over here. Let's take a look. This total number, 100 steps. 100 steps here. Now, how far to transform it? Well, I just want it to move. Here, let me do this live, actually. I think it's easier to explain that way. Okay, we start off that one step. Now, let's say we want 100 steps. So it's this. And then I'm going to rotate it around the Y. So this is the magic really happens when you fill this guy in. This is really where the magic happens, is where how much to fill in here. So let's rotate it by, I don't know, 10. Okay, so it's all in a circle. We want it spiraling upwards. So let's move it up as well. So let's, I don't know, 10. Too much. 0.1. Okay, there you go. You already have your spiral stairs. So what happens in the copy and transform is that it makes a copy and I'll rotate it by 10 degrees and then move it up by 0.1 and then copy another one and move it again by 10 degrees and move it up by 0.1. These numbers are accumulative, so the second copy it makes, it's moving it by 20 degrees, not 10 degrees. And then the second time it moves it up, it's moving it by 0.2. So it's adding, accumulates. It's adding more and more and more and more and more every single time. So that's what the unique ability of copy and transform. If it didn't accumulate, it would just stay in place every single time, which is not very helpful. So that's the power of the copy and transform. Now, let me see if I can find copy 2 points. Circle tunes, step in place, copy, creating the stair steps. Copy 2 points. Let me see if I can find my example. The wall. Now the wall is just a circle. As I mentioned, the spiral stairs is just a circle. And we know exactly the radius of the circle because that's how much we moved the box over here. We had moved it from the origin. We moved it over here, just a bit. So that becomes the radius. And if we template the wall, you'll notice that it's exactly where the box is. There are windows that I created in the wall. Just trying to find it. Walls with window shapes. There you go. So there are these windows. Now these windows are not randomly placed. They're placed with intention that if you port this over to okay, someone's asking Osmanner. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. Osmanner. How about Centroid 0DY min? Let me see. I actually don't use Centroid that much. I'm a huge fan of B-Box. But Centroid is good too. I have used it a few times. Let me see. Let's move this to the center. box, if I move this box over there. Okay, let's move it. Let's move this over there. Box 3. Let's move the Z. Centroid. Let's see. Surface node. So it's telling this tooltip is super handy. Surface node is the node path to the geometry that we're trying to find the center point of. And we're trying to find the center point of this box 3 over here. So I'm going to put quotes. You know what? Let me quote there dot slash box 3, and this will give me the center point of this guy. Box 3, this. And what is the center point that I want? I want the DZ center point of the Z axis. So I want you to look over here in the viewport. Here, this widget is very helpful. This is the blue arrow, which is the Z axis. So I want to move this spiral stairs over on the Z axis until we reach the box over here. So that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, I lost that template. DZ. Okay, let's try that. Let's take a look. Let's take a look over here. So it's exactly in the middle. Perfect. So it's used almost the same thing as B-box. But this the centroid will give you the center point, and B-box will give you the min and max and size. So B-box is better for using if you want to align it on the side or on top or under. The center is centroid. Well, if you're aligning something in the center point, then the centroid is your best friend. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. Oh, right, copy to points. I was trying to find an example. The windows. So this is actually a line of the window shape. Sorry. I punched this. I used this window shape, which is defined by the user using this ramp. So you can actually define the shape of the window. Okay, if you keep your eye on these window shapes, if I go like this, you can change the shape of the window like that. Just by changing this ramp. So hopefully that'll come in handy for someone. And what I take this shape and I punch it through this wall. But not in random positions though. These positions are uniquely placed so that if the character, I was planning to port this over to UE one day, that's why, the character walks up these stairs, they will be able to look out the window. So if they're on the stairs right here, so I can see the stairs right down here, if I'm standing right on the stairs and given the height, I would be able to look out the window of this castle looking spiral stair wall thing. So that's how the window positions are placed. They're not placed randomly. Now, how will we figure out the positions of the window? This is one of the questions you have to ask yourself. The window positions are driven by the stair steps. Wherever the stair steps are, if the stair steps are higher, then the windows have to be positioned higher. So it grows. Whatever happens to the stair steps happens to the window positions. It's driven by that. Once we know that, once we ask ourselves that, we know that the window positions are relying on that, we take the stair steps. So we go back to the stair steps and I go like, okay, what can I grab out of this? Well, we can just grab the upper face. We only need one position for each step. And I'm just going to grab the upper face. So I blast everything else. Oh, in this case, I grabbed the side face. Okay. So I grabbed the side face of each step. So let's template this. So I'm blasting everything else. I'm only grabbing the side. You can see that. And that's actually more convenient because this side, here, let me just show it to you because this is facing the wall. And we can actually use this, position the window there, and then extrude it out, and it'll punch exactly through the wall, just because these are facing the walls too. Now, we don't want a window for every single stair step. So this is where I have a bit of Vex code to blast it out. You can see that once I go from this to here, okay, let me take out the template. From this to here, I lose a lot of faces. A lot of them disappear because I don't need that many windows. Here I use a very simple Vex code. All it is doing is just taking the primitive number, and I'm using modulus, and I modulus some number, which is down here, parameter I created here. So every 5 steps there, I'm going to put an add window there and remove everything else. And this is what it's saying. So every factor of 5, so if you modulus 5, it will give you 0. I'm not going to explain what modulus is because I did that once on live and it didn't end up well. So if for all of those of you wondering what modulus is, please look it up. I'm not very good at explaining modulus live. Just Google that. You'll have tons of information, tons of tutorials teaching you what modulus is. It's super handy when using it in procedural modeling. So once you have that, I blast everything else that is not the 5th one, and I end up with 1/5 of the number. Next, I number these just for easier access later on. The normals doesn't really matter, and then center. So I extract the center point of every single face that I had left out. So you can see that there's a center point right there. So I just want the points. Remember, we're only interested in the position of this. We're using these points to position the windows. So this is just moving it in place, moving it up, moving it over, inwards, and there we go. I got faces. I got my window positions. Next is copy to points. So this is my template window geometry, and I want this geometry in every single point position over here, which is the job of copy to points. Take that out. Now this might not look like much, but watch when I template the wall. It'll all start to see. So you'll start to see it come together. So you can see this is the wall, and I'm going to punch. It's going to act like a hole puncher, and it's going to punch this all the way through every single position for every single slot here. What you end up with is a bunch of window holes. Then it comes to a matter of I do create a door, but the door is not as fancy. Then it comes to a matter of just merging the spiral stairs with the wall, that has the windows on it. So that's where copy to points comes in handy so much. And another example. Stair step in place. Let me see. Oh, my mouse. Stair step here. I take the first step and I use this as the position for the door. So this is the very first slab stone that we slapped on. This is the very first one. And it's brought in to the door just to figure out where the door position is. I move it over just a bit, just so that I don't want, so this is the first slab, and I just rotate it just a little bit over, just so it's not in the way of the door. And I do the same thing. I grab one of the sides of the cube that's slab, and I move it inwards, nudge it, reposition it, extrude it out, move it down. The move down is only so that we have a clean cut with the boolean. So that's why I needed to move this down. Door height is just moving it upwards and like however high you want your door to be. And then you have a very simple box as a door, and punch that through the wall, and this is what you get. So this is the door right here. What is nice about this is that it's right, you can actually see the stairs of the door once you merge everything together. So once I come down here and merge it, you can actually see the door, see the stairs over there. And if I actually move the door over, so this is a parameter you can expose. Move, rotate. Where's the door? Door position here. So I do expose that out. So this is tied to the parameter, which is goes up here. Let me parameter this, and we can go back in. Let's see. Let's see what we have. Door, window, door, and angular position. So I create a slider so we can go around. Now this, you might want to avoid stuff like this just because it's too close to the window. You can just move it over like this. So this is nice to have a slider like this, making it procedurally controllable. But that's nothing special. So this is not really any, the door doesn't use any special techniques, procedurally techniques. It just simply rotates it the same at a certain angle. The ones that I wanted to highlight was using the copy to point to position the windows, and the copy and transform to create the spiral stairs, the B box, Houdini expression to align different elements against each other so that you can create a procedural asset altogether. It's like a chain reaction. One geometry A relies on geometry B, which relies on geometry C. And once you change geometry A or geometry C, it's a chain reaction all the way down. So that's the power of using B-box. Copy to points, I mentioned that. And the ramp, that's just something I use to create the shape of the window. Nothing too special. That is just adjusting the height. I don't know if we need to go over that. It's nothing too fancy. Here, shape, this, polybevel. It uses the polybevel. The polybevel over here. Divisions, profile ramp. I believe this is linked to expression edits. Yeah, this is linked to the parameter on the exposed. This ramp is exposed to the outside, even though it's not highlighted in green. It actually is linked. So you can see it by right-clicking this expression and edit expression right here, and you'll see that it is indeed linked. And it's not showing in green highlight, which is a bummer. So you just have to remember what you did. Otherwise, you won't be able to find it. All right. I think that wraps it up for today. As for the spider webs, as I mentioned, this is a lot of vex. So I probably won't be going over this anytime soon, just because I don't have any vex courses or tutorials that to start people off, and I don't want to leave anyone hanging. I will be releasing some of these though. The spider webs might need a bit longer, maybe a little later. I will clean up these HDAs and they will be released in the next few days. So watch out for that. Watch out for the community tab. I will be releasing these out for the members, and just watch out for a post in the next few days. I usually post it on my blog with the download link, so you can go download it as well. All right. I think my bandwidth is dying as it's going on and off. YouTube is giving me this no data error message. I hope this is not causing a lot of pain for everyone to watch. It has been, I don't know, my bandwidth has been on and off. I'm trying to find the best time to host these streams, and it seems like I have to find another time slot just because the bandwidth is failing me at these random times. But that's for another day. I was going to ask if anyone has any questions, but the bandwidth seems like it's quirking out, like it's going on and off. I don't think even if you had a question, I don't think you'd be able to ask it. Just because I'm going offline and online. So if you do have any questions and hopefully you hear my voice, post them in the comments and I'll answer them ASAP, as fast as I can. I hope you enjoyed today's live stream, and tell me what you think about this widget, this new addition to the live stream with these arrows, these things. I don't know. It needs work. Needs a lot of work, but I feel like it has potential, but I'll try it for a few more streams and see what happens. Try and give me some feedback below, and I will very much appreciate it. Thank you all for joining me today. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, Magnetic. That's very nice of you. Thank you for joining me today, and for all of you that watched it all the way to the end, I apologize for the really long streams again. I will try to keep this shorter next time, although I keep saying that every single time. But have a good one, and happy Houdiniing.